So, I've been learning Japanese for about 4 years now, mostly using the AJATT immersion method, since I've always wanted to watch Japanese content like anime and read manga without subtitles or translations. I started like pretty much everyone else with Duolingo and Pimsleur, but really found it, ineffective after that. Tried to seriously study using Japanese from zero, but honestly I found it incredibly boring. But then I came across AJATT through Mad vs. Japan, specifically his two-part video where he talked about learning Japanese by watching anime. That immediately clicked for me because I had learned English almost entirely through consuming English media, mostly YouTube, and I can almost understand pretty much everything. I was like, yeah, this makes sense. I started with learning Kana like most people do, but I had a massive wall. No matter how much I tried to write or try to memorize it, I just couldn't get it to stick. So I spent about 1 month, learned only Kana, and it just wasn't working. Eventually I found an Anki deck that focused purely on reading Kana, not writing it, and I just started doing that, and I finished it, and I could read Kana. Then for vocabulary I started with the Tango N5 deck to build a foundation. I eventually finished the Tango N5 deck, then started the Tango N4 deck, but honestly I was way too excited, so I just started Immersing and abandoned the N4 deck. At the beginning, like always, I watched a lot of easy shows. Even those were quote unquote easy, it was insanely hard. Stuff like Yagate Kimi ni Naru no Non Biori and Keion. I always paused constantly, alt-tabbed all the time, looked up the words, and sometimes it would take me even an hour to just go through one episode. It was tedious and repetitive. But then I found Memento, which is basically a free and open source alternative to Migaku, and it's not sponsored or anything, it's free and open source. You can basically look up words without alt-tabbing and doing all that complicated stuff. Even with that, I still didn't understand most of what I was watching. I felt like I really wasn't making any progress at all. I honestly don't know, I pushed through that phase, I don't really remember, but it was really rough. I just thought of quitting, really. I do remember though that eventually things started to click, and I kept watching anime and sentence mining, and I reached a point where I could understand most slice of life anime pretty comfortably. I could even watch shows like Slam Dunk, a lot of rom-coms, Violet Evergarden, even stuff that is a bit harder like Monster. I also watched some live action shows like Kekkon Dekinai Otoko or Mada Kekkon Dekinai Otoko, and also Karakai Jouzu no Takagi-san, which I really enjoyed, but I mostly focused on anime. Even then, I felt like obviously my Japanese was very lacking, and when it came to nuance and stuff like that, so I really started heavily sentence mining. I spent about 1 hour a day on Anki, and that Anki routine honestly became really anxiety inducing. I spent an hour actually enjoying Immersion, and then another stress out over reviews. I mostly did them the first thing in the day, which was really stressful way to start the day. So I eventually decided to quit Anki completely and go for an immersion only approach. Around that time I also started reading because I know how powerful reading is for language acquisition. I had about 1,000 hours approximately of listening at that point, so I figured better to start now than ever, really. Started reading mostly visual novels and light novels that I was interested in. At first I looked up only some unknown words, but I quickly realized I wasn't really enjoying it because I wanted to understand it to the max. So I changed my approach. I started looking up everything, which I know was very effective, especially for a lot of learners like Jazzy, which he achieved an N1 level in 8.5 months, I think, by just reading manga and light novels and visual novels. But I would basically look at a sentence, look up everything I don't know. If I can get it, I will move on. That method has really worked well for me, and I've stuck with it. So far, I know I've only spent around 73 hours of reading, which isn't a lot, but I've actually started to enjoy reading a lot now. My current routine right now is mostly focused on reading. I also listening to YouTube podcasts when I'm walking, which honestly feels like cheating, like killing two birds with one stone. Expanding my beyond just anime has really been eye-opening and has helped me with my overall understanding of Japanese. My current goal is to do 2 hours of listening and 2 hours of reading every day. I'm not really consistent with it, but I'm trying to get there and I'm still not there yet. For my stats though, in total over these 4 years, I've spent 1,328 hours learning Japanese. That averages about 55 minutes per day, which honestly isn't that much, but I'm trying to make that better. My stats are also really obviously very one-sided, which makes sense given my focus, but now since I've focused on reading, I'm trying to balance things out. For speaking, it wasn't really a priority for me. I honestly didn't care much about it, and you can definitely see that in my stats. But recently I've become a bit more interested in it, and maybe we'll see where this journey takes me. So yeah, that's been my Japanese learning journey so far. If you're also learning Japanese or thinking about starting, I hope this gives you a realistic look of what AJATT/immersion, whatever you want to call it, means for you. But yeah, thanks for watching.